Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. It's Wednesday, the 25th of March, 2026, and thank you for starting your day with us. I'm Anulu Akbo Ido.
And I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. We are glad to have you join us as we bring you the stories and conversations shaping the day.
We begin this morning with reactions following an apology from the Minister of Power, Daybreak, to Nigerians over persistent power outages. The development raises important questions about accountability, the state of the national grid, and what Nigerians can expect going forward.
After our opening conversation, we bring you the weather report to help you plan your day, followed by Daybreak News, where we'll take you through the major national and international stories making headlines.
Then it's on to newspaper headlines and analysis, where we review the front pages and unpack the issues driving public discourse. Joining us is Afolabi, public affairs analyst.
Later in the program, we turn to our big story. South takes the lead, what the Labour Party's zonal decision means for 2027. What does this shift signal for Nigeria's political landscape, and how might it shape the road to the next general elections? To help us examine this, we'll be joined by Ignatius Boseleme, public affairs analyst.
Absolutely. And as always, we'll round off with Trend Watch, tracking the conversations shaping public attention across social and civic spaces.
This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Stay with us.
Absolutely. Good morning to you, Yemi.
Good morning, Hanu. Well done.
Yeah.
All right. So this morning, what we are talking about, obviously, is the Minister of Power apologizing to Nigerians over the poor electricity over the years. And of course, he made mention of quite a number of things why we are actually having these problems. And then he said old and weak transmission lines, the wires that carry electricity from power plant to homes, can easily fail or collapse. And then he also mentioned the power plants to say that we need natural gas to make them run. But then we've not been able to generate much of that, and that's why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. And then he also mentioned that some of the challenges the government have been able to actually look for possible solutions, but some are completely out of control of the federal government. And so Nigerians are bothered to say, if the federal government cannot handle whatever challenges that we're facing in terms of electricity, who then should Nigerians turn to? And then he mentioned something. He said in 2025, the people praised the Ministry of Power as a body to say that, okay, they did well, people enjoyed electricity. But then I think, yes, to be very, fair now, I think some persons, experienced, good electricity last year, but then people still complain bitterly. And of course, I'd like to take you through, a particular headline that was posted last year, that speaks to this, and then I think around last year, around January, the Nigerian Labour Congress called for the resignation of Adebayo Adelabu, the Minister of Power, over the persistent power outages affecting the country's electrical infrastructure. So when he came out to say that, okay, maybe majority of Nigerians praised us last year, I'm not sure he's the majority, because people still experience, electricity issues, and I mean, for their businesses, for schools and things like that. And the one more point I would like to mention is, same last year, January, Nigeria Tribune posted that, expect reliable power supply in 2026. Adelabu assures Nigerians. Looking ahead, our focus remains unshakable to deliver reliable, accessible, and sustainable electricity to power our homes, industries, and schools. So he made that promise to Nigerians last year. And of course, this is happening. And then he's been able to come out to say this is not entirely our fault. Certain reasons, are responsible. And then he said it's not our wish to find ourselves in this situation, but it is some factors that are actually beyond our control. And of course, he mentioned that because of the dry season, we are experiencing this, and of course, Nigerians should be calm with him and then just pray that things will get better. And then he said in the next 2 weeks, maybe we can experience better electricity across Nigeria. Don't forget that about a few months ago now, when a particular headline broke that the Aso Rock is said to actually move away from the national grid, and of course we focus on solar panels, and billions of naira were spent on that. So Nigerians were complaining that if the Aso Rock is actually separating itself from the national grid, so Nigerians are maybe allowed to just, or maybe they have no choice than to just maybe pray that the national grid will work. Don't forget, I think around 2024 it collapsed almost every single month, and then 2025 we saw the issues too. Even this year we have also experienced the collapse. So the defense of the Ministry of Power before now is to say that this national grid is old. We've been using it since the early 60s. But then can we keep making that as an excuse every single time? This is 2026. Even nations that are not as maybe let me say rich now in terms of natural resources, they found a way to actually ensure that their people will not suffer electricity issues, unlike before. So what is wrong with Nigeria? If we keep making the same excuses over the years, I don't think there'll be any solution. So I think this is the best time. He made a promise to Nigerians, and then Nigerians want a good solution. And the one more thing is the fact that he's going to be stepping down as the Ministry of Power soon, because he's set to contest for the governorship election over your state. So maybe at the end of the day, before he steps down, maybe he can find a solution, because at the end of the day, history will always remember whatever he did while he was in office, even before he decides to step down, really.
Well, different things really from different angles. Particularly, I think I will start with the fact that he apologized. So what does it mean to apologize? If a public servant comes out to say, you know, we are really sorry for what you're going through, first off, I would like to commend that, because it's a good way to start. If you say something happened in the country and then you can't take responsibility to say, we know there are a lot of things we could have done better, we have not really done so well, but we are moving forward, we are promising our commitment to making all of this become better. And I think that's a good way to start from. But some would also take apology as weakness. You know, there's a school of thought that would say that if a public servant comes out to say publicly that, you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't do this well, then some would take it for weakness to say, this person is probably weak, he's not capable, he's incompetent. But that's not exactly the case. We've seen in developed climes of the world and other nations where, you know, public servants will come. Some would even resign to say, I'm not sure I'm capacitated. I'm not sure I have the competence to run this duty as you expect me to. So I'm going to tender my resignation and I'm going to resign as whatever position you have put me. And I think it's also, now let me draw it back to where it should start from. Adebayo Adelabu is an economist. Is somebody who, if you check his portfolio, you discover he's worked with the CBN, is in that line of economy, right? Which makes a lot of sense. But again, is that enough? That someone knows about economics and maybe money, financial, all of the finances, doesn't mean the person is also knowledgeable enough to handle the power sector that keeps collapsing in the country. That's a question, really. And oftentimes, this is what then I put on the table to ask questions, to say, if we put Mr. Atobi, that is already an amazing, you know, back-end person, like a camera person, and all of a sudden you make him the Minister of Water Resources, you know, how do you expect him to function? So sometimes I'm wondering, when we say some people are not competent, I'm wondering why we are even having that conversation, because that conversation should have been had before they were appointed. We have seen a lot of nominations and appointments in this country where people were just given things that they knew next to nothing about, you know, so they get to the job and then the first thing they do is start looking for people who are knowledgeable. Please, I need your help. So what does this mean? You see, someone who is coming into that sector is asking, so what does it mean? How do we generate power? What about generation, distribution, and all of those things? How do we transmit power to everybody? Why do we have national grid collapsing? Sometimes, when I think I remember the last time or the last few times when the national grid collapsed, they were asking questions. I'm not sure I was able to give it. And I'm not saying this to discredit him. I'm just saying that looking forward, Nigeria should look out for the right peg in the right hole. If it's going to be a square peg, let it be a square hole. If it's going to be a round peg, let it be a round hole. That's what we expect. It's the least we can expect, actually, because there are a lot of persons who have, you know, extensive, comprehensive knowledge about these sectors. Why not give them? Because you know he's a politician. Well, he dropped into politics. And so you might want to say, because maybe he belongs to a party, so he's going to take... and it's high time we started thinking better, to say, if I want to put here me as the CEO of a food business, how much of food understanding does Yemi know? That's one of the questions we should put to the table. I think we talked about this the last time too. There was a case in where in Rivers right now. I remember they had a conversation. In the committee, the House of Assemblies, you know, invited some commissioners, and they were asking questions, and you could tell that there's a lapse somewhere. You could tell that there's a bit of, you know, there's a foresight of incompetence, because obviously these people that have been taken to come and become the commissioner for education, commissioner for natural resources, commissioner for sport, these people know next to nothing about these things. And that's one thing, to know it's not all there is to it. What about passion? Do they have passion for the job? Right? We've seen a lot of people who have the, you know, they have the head for the job, but they don't have the heart for the people. And you wonder, this person is trying to get his job done. It doesn't care who sucks his God. It doesn't care if an average Anu does not charge his phone. It doesn't care if Sulia somewhere does not have a battery to work with. You know, all of that is still a conversation. Do you know how many businesses have been disrupted ever since this issue started again? We cannot even estimate how much of losses we've had in terms of money. Because if you consider that people who are supposed to deliver a clothing line, for example, and they require power to do that, they would not be able to satisfy their customers. And that's a problem. So if we are talking about microeconomy, we are talking about productivity at the grassroots level. How can we sustain this without power? And, you know, I don't know. I'm forced to say some have called him minister of something, whatever they would call him. But, you know, that's not even the conversation. The conversation should be that it should not just be the problem or the responsibility of Bayo Adelabo. It should be that of the people who even set him up to give him that position. Sometimes I don't know if it's so strange in Nigeria for anybody that is nominated to say no to appointments. Can you say no? Yes, you can say no. I know, yes, you want to try. Oh, I've not done it before, so let me try it. You've not done it before. Are you sure? Look at what is... See, Nigerians are not going to wait till you learn on the job and then deliver. Nigerians want something as fast as possible. They have believed that the moment you step into office, you have been adjudged to know better. You have been adjudged to be competent. So you can't come there and give excuse and say, you know what, I didn't quite see this well from outside. Now that I'm inside, it's a different game, and I'm trying to get my head into it. I'm trying to learn the ropes. Mama, Baba, you cannot learn the ropes again at this point in time. And I just wanted to also bring it back to the fact that when we appoint these people, let it be that we know who we are appointing. Let it be that they have the passion. They also have what it takes to deliver. Not just the passion, but also the technical, the educational, the knowledge, and all of that is required for that particular function to happen. And let me also say that the fact that he has apologized, maybe Nigerians should really take it with a pinch of salt and probably just hope that something better will come out from this. And I also want to say that I think I did a study one time and I discovered there are many African nations who have the power to really offset this electricity issue across the world, and particularly DR Congo. The Democratic Republic of Congo has the capacity to give electricity to almost every African nation because of the water resources they have and all of that. The turbine system is almost natural, so there won't be so much to do. But it's still the same. So if you check what's obtainable in DR Congo, it's almost the same thing that is obtainable in Nigeria. We have a lot of dams that can be used for the better good of these things. We can have power supply. And some people have even complained some years back when they discovered that Nigeria supplies electricity to Chad, to some other countries. And you say you give these people power. You don't have power in your country. What exactly is the point? What are you trying to do? Now, we also understand that it's beyond Adelabu. It's even beyond the Ministry of Power. It's also about some political warlords, the political giants who are interested in bringing all of these heavy plants into the country, generating plants. They have a lot of them, and they don't want to run at losses. So they wouldn't want this to happen. For everything that is bad, for everything that is not making sense in the country, someone is at the tail end of it enjoying it. Someone is benefiting from the ills of society, ills of the mismanagement, and all of the issues we're having in the country. So we know this is not just an Adebayo Adelabu problem, it's a general problem. But again, this can have an outlook on his ambition, his gubernatorial ambition come 2027, because some have already said, if you're not competent enough to deliver power, can you deliver the dividends to the people of the states? You know, the state is quite, I mean, you can imagine Oyo State is large enough. You can imagine that Oyo State is about 7 times bigger than Lagos in terms of landmass. So how do you expect to do that if you cannot deliver at that point of maybe just a mini sector in government or in governance? How can you deliver at the bigger one in Oyo State? And that's the question. But that's not even enough to say. But we have to, if we will get to the end of this issue, I remember Discos and some of their heads came out to say recently that it wasn't their fault, really. That it was the fact that they could not get the fuel. I think they were talking about gas that was needed to also generate too. So there's all of those things. I'm not going to go into all of that, but there's a lot you have to put into the process of generation before distribution and all of those transmission that you do. They said they had shortage of fuel. They could not get. Of course, we can also link that to the Hormuz situation, the Israel, America, and Iran fight. We can talk about that to be one of the maybe factors that are responsible for that as well. To say they did not get the fuel to fuel all of those those generating plants to give Nigerians power that they deserve. But again, I'm just going to say, whatever the case is, we should look out for the best hand for the right job, right? The right specs and the right holes. We need someone who has not just the head for the job, but also the heart for the people. And I think that's where I would like to make my claims.
Yeah, I think you're very spot on. And speaking about experience will always be key in terms of, sensitive positions like this. And then it's been there for, about 3 years now. So even I just asking, if at all he wasn't, very experienced with this particular sector, he must have been able to learn on the job. And the one important thing is when you are asked to take up a position and you don't have adequate information, the best thing to do, if at all you don't want to say no to that position, is to make inquiries. People who have held that position in the past, meet with them, ask them questions, and then of course do not just limit that to Nigeria alone. Go outside of Nigeria, ask them how are they doing it, especially for countries who are getting it right in terms of electricity. Ghana that you mentioned, if you compare the population of Ghana to Nigeria, I mean we are more than Ghana in terms of population, but then they have been able to get it right in terms of electricity. There are some African even some states in this country, they found a way around electricity. So what is going on with Nigeria with the resources that we have? So it's really sad. And of course, he is saying that, the government has been able to invest. So I say it all the time. It's not about pumping money into a particular sector. You can keep pumping money and you will not see the effect of the money that you're pumping. It's about, creativity and intelligence. Before we actually invest this amount of money in this sector, what are the issues? Can we identify the issues first before you pump money? Because there are certain things that wisdom will do for you that money cannot, whether you like it or not. But I'm not saying we do not need money in this particular sector, but can we identify the problem before we now start pumping money? Because why is it that electricity has been a problem in the last 10, 20 years? But I don't think Nigeria has ever had this bad in terms of electricity. And then it's becoming, the situation is more intense because of, the increase in the price of fuel. I think about last 2-3 weeks, Nigerians were complaining every single way you go to in the bus, anywhere. And then it happened that maybe just last week, people stopped complaining. And then I saw a tweet online. Someone said, you people have stopped complaining about electricity at Justice Republic. And speaking to Nigerians that we know how to adjust, to situations. When we had the old cashless policy, people complained, people died because of that. And then at some point, people started adjusting to the situation. So this whole electricity matter now, it appears that so many persons are already adjusting to it. But then I don't think there's any night, no matter how rich you are, whether you are Nepo baby or Lapo baby, you must feel the impact of this electricity and the hike in the price of fuel. Honestly, even band A people are collecting. So it's no longer about whether you belong to band A or band B or rubber band. You feel it as a Nigerian, no matter how rich you are. Because I recall I was watching Tops, I was watching their videos and they were complaining. Even Peter Duce, he made a video sometimes to say every single day he spends about 40,000 naira on fuel. I'm sure that was dead. Now that we have an increase in price, I'm sure he's spending more than that. They are complaining. So if people like that are complaining, we cannot really tell how rich they are, but I mean, to an extent, you want to believe that they are more comfortable than the ordinary Nigerians, or let me say the commoners, let me say the students now, who is trying to maybe run a business, they have a small gen, they want to buy fuel, but then imagine, see, it's really sad, but let me say one thing now. Do you know that, $1 might not even be enough to buy maybe 1 liter of petrol? See, some persons are even speculating that it might get to a time. Imagine the highest currency of this country, 1,000 naira, cannot buy 1 liter of petrol. How did we get here? It's a problem. So people are even speculating that if this war does not come to an end, we see back and forth between Iran and of course US. They are threatening each other. If you don't open this, if you don't do this, we are going to do this. When are we going to? Should we really base our lives on that? Yes, it will happen. And one major problem that we have as a country is we are more reactive than proactive. Other countries that are still developing, so that developing nation should not really be a huge problem. We are not the first country that will be tagged as a developing country. So we can really be proactive. Can we look at issues and see how we can make them work? If at all there's this maybe war, across the global space. So why should we keep blaming that war? What happens to what we have as a country? What happens to our own fuel as a country? So, see, people are even saying, there was a time they said, let us sell off our refineries and then use the money for something else. If we sell off those refineries now, what about the investment that has gone into those refineries? People were being paid. Contractors were being paid. Why is it so difficult? I mean, for the people in this particular sector, in terms of, oil now, why is it so difficult to actually, maybe just conduct meetings with the Dangote refinery. How is it doing it? That is so impossible for us to do it. We have 4 refineries and they are not working. 4 major refineries, and people are saying, let us if not because of Bayo Ojulari, the recent GCO that came out, others have not been talking. It came out recently to say that these refineries are not, they are moribund, let's stop wasting money. But before then, we've been pumping money consistently. Boy came out to say, let's stop wasting money. So setting off the refineries, is it the best thing that we should do? I really do not agree. But then maybe it might be the best option. But if we sell off those refineries, where would the money go?
Exactly. So many things. You've made so many points, and valid points, and I'm going to probably just start from one of the things you said. And just as Republic, right? Some have called Nigerians that, what came to my mind was Yakubu manage. You're not there, okay? You're not there. So it's just a way to say we keep managing, right. And that's exactly why we are where we are now. We manage someone. We know how to adapt. We are good with that. So over people will talk, and then eventually it all dies down. Whatever they do, we'll still keep doing it. So even if they sell petrol for 5,000 naira a liter this morning, some people will complain this morning, but next morning they would buy. There will be queues at filling stations.
Because they don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's one. But again, too, it has become a norm that even the government, they know that, let's do it. They will just cry for a while. And we've seen government officials say that. And don't worry, it will still, they will just, after a while, they will calm down. Yes, they know this will be a thing, right? But I know that's also beyond the ability or the power, the capacity of an average person to say, because you did this, we are going to stop working or something. But whichever way, I'm just trying to say that there's a point we need to get to understand that everything lies on every one of us. I mean, not just the government. Everybody has a part to play. And I'm going to speak to the issue of what is happening across the world. We understand, so I read the report. South Asia and some other countries around there began to do some things. They began to diversify. Ever since this whole issue of Strait of Hormuz came about, they started doing a lot of things to say, you know what, let's cut quotes according to whatever we have, right? So they started doing a lot of things. I remember they said they were going into charcoal production, massive charcoal production. They were using some of them. Not every machine will run on charcoal, but some that will run, right? So it's a way to diversify. We've talked about this before. What if Nigeria did not have or does not have natural resources? What if we don't have oil, for example? What would we do? What are we going to eat? But it's possible if we begin to think about how we can get other sources. There are things called biofuels. Biofuels are like, it's what you get from like maybe natural plants or anything that is not exactly the fossil fuel. It's a form of fuel, but it's a better. For example, Jatropha coccus is a plant. You can extract some of the ingredients in it, the oils, the chemicals, and then make power, generate power from it. They can burn, and you can use it instead of fossil fuel. We've talked about this. Climate change is not a joke. We've talked about climate change to be that if any nation would do well, you have to cut down on the emissions. And how do you cut down emissions? You cut down on fossil fuel usage. And that's exactly where a lot of countries have drifted to. Recently, we saw a president, I think one of their leaders in Netherlands, who after having a meeting and then he handed over to the next person, he went on his bicycle. There are countries today that they use bicycles for short distances. And they use public buses. Not because they cannot have their Range Rovers and all of the big vehicles, but because they knew that the more cars we have on the street, the more fossil fuel we burn, and the more combustion and all of those gases, the CO2 gases that we release into the atmosphere, and that is not even good for us. I think there's a particular place in my area. I'm going to do a study on that as well. Every morning as I'm coming to work, there is a big vehicle, one of the Ajumoshe vehicle, that releases something that blocks everybody's view. You cannot see if that vehicle is in front of you. And that's even a government bus. How do you take it off the road? That's one of the problems we have, right? So I think it's something I'm going to work on, and I'm going to put it out there. We can have these things done better. We can diversify our source of fuel. Until we start thinking about alternative ways of doing stuff, we might still keep getting the results we are getting. Because, it's been said often and often again that, the definition of foolishness is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's not going to happen. Now that we have seen that, there's a chance possibly somehow, some way, some issues can come up and then we don't have fuel again. How do we live? And that's what we should be thinking about. Countries, developed countries, some intelligent countries, I would call them, are beginning to look out for alternatives. They're looking for options. What if we don't have fossil fuel? What can we do? Okay, so they're saying, okay, let's use charcoal. There are cars that can run on charcoal. We can build them. We can manufacture them. We can couple them in the country. Right? That's what they are thinking about. When some countries are even thinking of using water, right, to power vehicles, to power installations and all of that. And you wonder, is this impossible? Just the same way some people would never have thought that you can have a mobile device that will call somebody in China. They thought about this. You know, every great idea starts from a place, right? We can start ideas now that we know that things are going to be difficult much later in the years if we cannot always depend on electricity that is coming from fossil fuel, that's coming from the crude oil that we're getting. We need some alternative, and that's exactly what I'm trying to make as point. But again, let me also speak to the issue of maybe generally now to say whoever will come to this sector of the power ministry, even if the person has a good will to make things better, there are still a lot of things that need to be done. And we are also maybe raising a voice to the government to understand that there are certain things we must do. There are things we must ban. There are things we must start, as a country. And I think it's the way forward now. We can't just depend on a savior to say, I'm appointing Oluwayemi Adelakun as the Minister of Power. She's going to do magic. There's no magic coming from Adelakun from there. You can tell, because she only has so much to do. She can only do so much. What about the other fact that she might not even be aware of? What about now we've talked about some states generating power themselves. Beautiful, incredible. How do they want to do it? We really do not know. Well, maybe we don't care really, because just get it done. What matters is let's have it. Not how you do it. How you do it, get fossil fuel, get whichever way, solar power, whatever way. Now that we've seen that even some government houses, some buildings are even trying to do solar, trying to do some other alternative ways. And it seems like if they do that, then like you mentioned, that an average Nigeria will suffer, because if the grid collapses, there's nobody that will go and run to do it, because the government will not know. They are on another power generator, so they wouldn't even know there was a collapse until we make the noise. But I just want to say, time and again, there's a Yoruba adage that says, if rain beats you into the same house twice, then you are not doing right. Because you have to understand, if it beats you once, you should understand that next time I'm going to get an umbrella, or I'm going to come home before time. All of these things. I think I will also end on this note to say, one of my lecturers came into class one day and then he said something. They said there's no bad weather. He said there's only bad dressing. In a sense, there's no bad situation that will come to a country that's supposed to take you off your foot, because you should have planned for exigencies. That's why we have developed nations thinking. We have nations that are thinking, nations that are putting on their thinking caps. They are not sitting down. Nigeria is we are so possessed with every gimmicks and every intricacy of politics. Our our leaders are more concerned about politics, not governance, not the people, not how Nigeria. Sometimes, I remember one time the United States came out to say they had a fuel that was going to take them for 50 years. I'm not sure Nigeria can boast of 2 years. Because tomorrow morning, something can come up and say, hey, the fuel price has increased just tomorrow. So we cannot really envisage what we can have in 20, 30, 50 years' time. Nations that are really serious, they are thinking 100 years. They are thinking 200 years. We've seen, I remember I saw a project that was constructed by some countries in Europe, and it took them 200 years to finish those. So where are those 200 years projects in the country, Nigeria? From 1914 till now. That's about over 100 years. What have we done from there? Were there plans that were set from the time when we got independence in 1960 to this time? Are there projects we've set in place that even if any government wants to say, I'm not continuing, you don't have a choice but to continue? So we've seen policies, we've seen projects that have been abandoned because we do not have a structured system to say, what this system means is it means something for the Nigerian state. If you are going to become the president, you have to understand you have to get as much as money to pump into this business or into this line, because we must get this done. And I think it's high time we started thinking about way forward for the country. How can we move on from where we are? And I think that's the right way to go.
Exactly. So one more thing is that the government should not always sweep ideas under the carpet. If at all the idea is not going to fly, there's a way to actually make use of that idea. If it will not be profitable for us at this point, it can be profitable for us, next time. I think it's a fine place to leave that discussion. Of course, good luck to the Minister of Power just before, he decides to leave the office. Maybe he can, just plan a miracle, and then all of a sudden Nigerians will praise him again. Because that's one thing about people. If you have not been doing so well for a while, the moment you start doing well, Nigerians will still praise you. Away from that story, I think it's time to jump on the weather report. And this morning, of course, we start with Lagos State, and weather this morning feels like 34 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 7%, and in the afternoon we have 32 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%, and in the evening we have 29 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%, and overnight we have 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 4%. And from Lagos this morning we cross to Osogbo.
And in Osogbo today, let's see what the weather is looking like today in the Osogbo group. Of course, today the weather feels like 25 degrees Celsius across board, and in the morning it's expected to be mostly cloudy at 30 degrees Celsius, and it rises by 5 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. Partly cloudy as well at 24% humidity, and in the evening it drops drastically to 28 degrees Celsius to remain partly cloudy, and it remains cloudy overnight at 25 degrees Celsius, dropping by 3 degrees Celsius at 8% humidity today in Osogbo today.
And from Osogbo we cross to Ibadan, southwest Oyo, and weather this morning feels like 30 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 31 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon we have 35 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%, and in the evening we have 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 4%, and overnight we have 26 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 6%, and that's what we have for Ibadan, southwest Oyo this morning. And from Ibadan this morning we cross to Ekiti, southwest.
And in Ekiti southwest, the weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius across board. In the morning, it's going to be cloudy at 29 degrees Celsius at 1% humidity. It will get partly cloudy in the afternoon at 33 degrees Celsius at 24% humidity. And in the evening as well, 26 degrees Celsius, remain partly cloudy, and then it becomes cloudy overnight at 24 degrees Celsius, dropping 2 degrees Celsius down to 24 overnight at 5% humidity today in Ekiti southwest.
And from Ekiti we cross to Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Weather this morning feels like 22 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 2%. In the afternoon we have 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 24%, and in the evening we have 24 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%, and overnight we have 22 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 4%. And from Port Harcourt we cross to Maiduguri, Borno State this morning.
And in Borno State, Maiduguri today, the weather is feeling like 23 degrees Celsius. In the morning, 35 degrees Celsius is what it starts with, partly cloudy. And of course, it's going to be very sunny again in Maiduguri today at 41 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. No chance of humidity at all across board. And yes, a sharp decline to 31 degrees Celsius in the evening. That's dropping about 10 degrees Celsius down to 31 to become partly cloudy. And then it remains mostly cloudy overnight at 27 degrees Celsius in Maiduguri, Borno State today.
And from Borno we cross to Suleja and Niger this morning. Weather feels like 25 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon we have 36 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1% as well. In the evening we have 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 3%. And overnight we have 27 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 4%. And from Suleja we cross to Kano Municipal this morning to take the weather.
And let's go to Kano Municipal this morning. What the weather feels like is 24 degrees Celsius across board. In the morning, 32 degrees Celsius, quite high, to be partly cloudy. And then it rises much further by 7 degrees Celsius to 39 degrees Celsius to become sunny in the afternoon. And in the evening, 31 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly clear. And overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, dropping 5 degrees Celsius down to become mostly cloudy in Kano Municipal today.
All right, that's how far we can go. Speaking about weather reports this morning, it's time to take a short break. And when we come back, we continue. Do want to follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Need a professional abilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live like never before? Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram at Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television, Ibadan. My name is Anuluapo Ido. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has received 708 stranded Nigerians repatriated from Niamey in Niger. Shortly after the reception at Malamadaminu Kano International Airport, the head of operations at NEMA Kano office, Nura Abdullahi, confirmed that the group included 292 males and 416 females, both adults and children, from several states across the country. According to Abdullahi, the evacuation was facilitated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He added that medical teams from the Nigerian Red Cross were on the ground to attend to the returnees with critical cases referred to appropriate health facilities. He also urged Nigerians, particularly young people, to avoid unsafe migration in search of better opportunities abroad. President of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has raised concerns about the growing volatility in the global oil market, warning that the ongoing conflict in the Middle East could worsen economic hardship across Africa if not urgently resolved. Speaking on the implications of the crisis after meeting with President Tinubu, Dangote said that although Nigeria is not directly involved, the ripple effect of global oil price fluctuations would inevitably be felt. Dangote warned that a prolonged crisis could further destabilize economies, particularly in Africa, where fiscal buffers are limited and debt pressures remain high. He warned that sustained price increases would have widespread and cascading effects on livelihoods and production. Moving on, security has been tightened around the Federal High Court in Kaduna ahead of the arraignment of former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai over alleged corruption offenses. Armed operatives from the Department of State Services, DSS, the Nigeria Police Force, Mobile Police Force, and Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps were deployed around the court's premises, with checkpoints mounted and vehicular movement restricted, causing traffic disruptions in the area. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, through its spokesperson John O'Day, confirmed that El-Rufai will be arraigned alongside Joe Adoga on charges including conversion and possession of public property, as well as money laundering. In a separate case before the Kaduna State High Court, El-Rufai and Amadou Sule are also facing allegations of abuse of office, fraud, and conferring undue advantage. Meanwhile, 4 persons have been confirmed dead following a late-night crash along the Ijebu-Ode Expressway in Ogun State, reportedly caused by excessive speeding. The Federal Road Safety Corps spokesperson Afolabi Odunsi Oyewole confirmed the incident. Meanwhile, in a separate accident in Lagos, 1 person was killed and 3 others injured at Ayetu Road Junction in Ekpe area after a truck lost control and collided with a commercial tricycle. Authorities assure that the injured are receiving treatment, while investigations into both incidents are ongoing. And now straight to the foreign scene. Australia and the European Union have agreed a sweeping free trade deal after 8 years of negotiations. The deal, worth about $10 billion, was signed on Tuesday, with Australia's Prime Minister and the head of the European Commission describing it as a mutual win-win. As well as removing almost all tariffs on trade, the two have also agreed to increase cooperation on defense and critical minerals. Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen described the deals as having a focus on collective resilience in a world that is deeply changing. The White House says plans for talks with Iran remain fluid, adding that any speculation should not be deemed as final. This follows the U.S. President and Iran's parliament speaker giving conflicting accounts of potential talks between the two countries on the ongoing war. Recall that Donald Trump earlier said he had postponed threatened strikes on Iranian power plants after having productive conversations with Tehran. However, Iran said the talks were fake news. An Iranian foreign ministry official says Tehran has received points from the U.S. via mediators as potential precursor to talks. Meanwhile, the price of oil again rose to over $100 per barrel after a plunging on Monday when Trump first posted about U.S.-Iran talks. And finally in sports, second-place French league side Lens has objected to the potential rescheduling of the top-of-the-table clash with champions Paris Saint-Germain. The league has already granted PSG, the defending European champions, 1 postponement for a match against Nantes that originally fell between the 2 Chelsea games. On Monday evening, Lens, a point behind PSG, who have the Nantes game in hand, responded to the recent surge in public comments with a statement of their own, stating that it has made it clear to Paris Saint-Germain from the very first inquiries that it did not wish to see the date changed. And that's about it in Daybreak News. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and X at Dominion Cast. And that's Daybreak News. I am Anuluakpo Ido. Thank you for watching. APC said there's no threat to convention. The zonal congresses will hold today. And that's exactly one of the highlights and the high points of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper and the nation this morning. Welcome to this segment of headlines, paper headlines and analysis, where we check into the print and bring you up to speed with stories that are breaking and developing across the country. And sometimes, if time permits, will stretch beyond the shores of the country, Nigeria. But of course, today of interest is one big story on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. It says, APC, no threat to convention. Meanwhile, they said their congresses, their zonal congresses will hold today across board. That's exactly that conversation. Meanwhile, aspirants sues party. That's on the one hand. And on the other, you had that. Of course, Bashiru, others are cleared. That's exactly the story and the conversation from that quarters to say, yes, there's no threat to convention. A convention is holding. There's no, all of those gimmicks will not happen during our convention. But that seems to be like the story of the APC. Meanwhile, on the other hand, on the flip side of Labour Party, there's also another story on the Nation newspaper that reads, Labour Party zones presidential ticket to South and shifts convention. Why some persons are shifting convention? APC is saying we are not shifting our convention. But yes, Labour Party has decided to also zone this presidential candidacy to South. That's the story. Big caption for some would say it's zoning the right way. Others would say perhaps that's what's been helping some strong parties to maintain power, to retain strength and visibility in the politics of the Nigerian state. But that's exactly one of the conversations we'll be checking out this morning. Meanwhile, Justice Salami Ford's mode of picking Supreme Court justices. That's also one thing to check out this morning. Maybe there's a way that is being done that is not sitting well with Justice Salami. Ford's in the mode at which the mode of picking Supreme Court justices, that's exactly a conversation, but that's also by this side. El Rufai to explain 579 million naira severance pay. That's exactly something that we're expecting. I mean, so much to talk about this. While fingers are crossed to see what becomes of that. As you can see on your screen, on the top left corner of the Nation newspaper, you see the story: Nigeria to become competitive in global trade with single window. That's another story worthy of being read today. On the Nation newspaper, meanwhile, blackout. NISO releases 2,793 megawatts to 11 discos. Seems like a good one, especially now that people are shouting heat is killing people. And of course, you can tell also that the price of fuel is not joking. So you don't want to just run into that and say, oh, the next time I want to do is set up a generating plant that would power me using fossil fuel or using what we know as PMS. That's another difficult thing to do. But anyway, whichever way you can find yourself in this situation, help yourself. That's the most important thing. If you have to stay hydrated as much as you can, please do carry water bottles. Sometimes I think I carried the water bottle recently, and before I drank the water, after maybe about 1 hour, it was hot. So I drank hot water. Anyway, that's the conversation right there. But of course, whatever you can do to ensure that you keep living, I mean, do it. The heat is not joking, it's not smiling. The temperature is record high and it's dangerous, really. So for your health, take as many cups of water as you can to help you stay hydrated. Meanwhile, moving on from that health tip that I'm giving. Ex-Oyo deputy governor resigns from federal job for governorship bid. Ex-Oyo deputy governor resigns from federal job for governorship bid. So we know people are gathering momentum. There are a lot of things people are striking to say, you know what, come 2027, we will do this together. We will participate. We will be active, like they say, active. And I think it's also good to say that when, leaders in the country or potential political powers are reacting, are trying to do a lot of things, I think we should also be proactive as well. I mean, as people are going to be voting, you can't just say because they are prepping, then we'll wait till when our time comes to vote. No, you also have to keep prepping now, prepping for who you think is credible, prepping to check the policy prescription of the person, trying to vet the person. Can this person really hold so much weight in the country in terms of like doing what we expect as Nigerians? Does this person have an emphasis of more than 4-year or 10 or 8-year tenure that they run in the country? Does this person have a blueprint for the country to move forward? Those are the things we should look out for while we are also gathering momentum come 2027. And now that's another story. Parties move against Electoral Act is also a big story on the Daily Trust newspaper. This morning, Daily Trust has it boldly inscribed on the front page to say, parties move against Electoral Act. That is a big story right there. To check out is what you're afraid, really. But if not, for want of time, we'll take some other stories. What federal government can do to bring down petrol costs. That's also a read on Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Meanwhile, we just read in the news that 11 die in Ogun, Oyo, Bauchi road crashes. Very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. We pray that the fortitude to bear the losses for those people, families, concerned members, God will give them. Now, Obi has had no basis contesting 2023 presidential election. That's coming from Justice Salami, saying, Peter Obi does not have a basis for contesting 2023 presidential election. That's exactly that. As we can see in terms of the courts and rulings of the justices we have in the country. Now, 2027, Labour Party zones presidential ticket to South. We already said this. Yes, U.S. to send thousands of soldiers to Middle East. That's on the foreign side of things. Of course, we know there's been a lot of back and forth, especially between the U.S. government and then Iran as well, to say many things, but for want of time, we have to move on. Court remands El Rufai in ICPC custody, fixes March 31st for bail hearing. hearing. That's the story on the down part of the Daily Trust this morning. To see court remands El-Rufai in ICPC custody, fixes March 31 for bail hearing. That is a big story on Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Now, I will take a few from the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. This morning, the Nigerian Tribune has that picture of the accidents, of course, the ones that happened in Ogun, as you can see right now on your screen. Very, very sad situation. Police confirmed 2 dead as Mack trucks brake fails in Ibadan. Crosses tricycles. Unfortunate incident. I mean, the graphic sense that I really would not like to describe. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, or your PDP candidate to emerge April 8th. That's coming from the state governor, Engineer Sheyi Makinde. It says your PDP candidates are to emerge April 8th, according to the governor. Automatic tickets given to serving reps, first-term assembly members. Governor says we won't leave PDP. Only 51 candidates for 2027 polls. Final decision on platform to be made April 15 at stakeholders meeting. That is also talking PDP, talking of your state. Yeah, that's exactly how we have it on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Parties wanting direct primaries restored. That is a big one as well. The biggest of captions on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning on page 2. Insists on amendment to Electoral Act as INEC's updated guidelines review party registration, merger, deregistration, campaign expenses, and all of that, talking 2027 elections as well as the INEC body and all there is to that. Court remands El-Rufai bail application hearing for March 31st. Son leads supporters to Cardinal Court in show of solidarity. And that's another thing to talk about on health. Meningitis outbreak worsens in northern Nigeria, and that's a report from NCDC. That's the National Center for Disease Control in the country. And that's one of the stories that will be making the rounds as we progress into this broadcast. And of course, that's how much it will take on this segment of newspaper headlines and analysis, where we have brought you stories that are making the rounds across the country. Stay tuned, because we have so many other stories to come up. First, the big story comes up right after now. My name is stay with us and don't go nowhere.
may not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. These are the words of Mark Twain. Good morning once again and welcome to the big story. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakon. And of course, today we turn our attention to a political development that is already reshaping the landscape ahead of the 2027 general election. The Labour Party has officially zoned its presidential ticket to the south, marking a decisive shift with implications that run deeper than the headline itself. Across Nigeria's political history, zoning has always been more than geography. It has been a tool of negotiation, balance, and sometimes controversy. Even within the Labour Party, its early years saw a more fluid and less formalized approach to zoning, reflecting its identity as a party of ideological movement rather than regional blocs. But over the years, especially from 2011 onwards, the Labour Party has gradually adopted more structured power-sharing arrangement, often in response to internal strains or the need to broaden its national appeal. Now in 2026, the party has drawn a hard line, no aspirant from the north, a bold and deliberate policy shift announced by the chairman of the National Caretaker Committee, Senator Nnamdi Usman. It's a move that raises several questions. Is the zoning decision a strategy of political clarity or a gamble with national perception? What does it signal about the party's internal consolidation? And most importantly, what might it mean for the next election cycle? To help us unpack this dynamics and explore what this could mean for Nigeria's political future, I'm joined by Afolabi Afalami, public affairs analyst. Good morning. And
Good
welcome
morning,
this
my
morning.
dear sister. Good to be here.
Good to have you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Right. So let's start with this question first now. Now that Nnamdi Usman announced recently to say we are zoning to the south, a lot of Nigerians are surprised, how democratic is this in terms of inclusion in the party system? And then what game do you think the Labour Party is trying to play?
Well, you understand that zoning is not in the Constitution.
Okay.
The Constitution requires that we present a credible person, fit and acceptable by the party.
Okay.
And but zoning just come up as a tradition for us to have balancing, for us to have inclusion, for us to have everybody becoming part and parcel of the game. And as it has been a tradition and a game, like you can see, is also what all the party are looking into. Right now, APC is going to be no question to ask them, where are you zoning your party to? Your presidential ticket to is already in the south.
It's obvious.
Yes, it's obvious. And asking other party, like Labour Party, whose reflection in the last election saw a momentum in rising beyond the previous time. Labour Party has been during the time of President Obasanjo,
Okay.
and his ability to maintain beyond the local then was not like it is right now. Not until the coming of Obi into the party and the southeast seeing the party as one block they can all embrace, and some southwest here seeing it as another opportunity to take power and wrestle with others political party.
Okay.
It has never gained momentum more than what it has been in the past. But right now, it's also becoming a party to bargain with, a party to ally with, a party to see as a tool for exchange.
Okay.
Some of the members will eventually wants to go into to ally with a new party, having lost the election. We saw that in the last election, 2023, when some members here in Oyo State lost their election and quickly allied with the state in order to form a bloc, and then that is why you see that the zoning pattern is not in the Constitution, but a kind of culture. And doing that is just telling us that everybody is now seeing what the political elite are saying, and from Nnamdi Usman and his committee to pronounce that, it has already jeopardized the effort of anybody thinking to come out from the party in the north, like Dati has once said he will be contesting for president, but right now I don't know. I want to believe he will not want to go against his party, and that alone is telling Nigeria something, that the north has done their 8 years. It is the turn for the South.
Do you see him defecting? Because, I mean, he was very firm when he came out to say, I'm interested in contesting as president under this party.
Yes, you can be interested in contesting under this party, but the party still has the power to say we are zoning our own ticket to this particular zone in the country. You know, nobody has been opportune to come out. Like the Nigerian Constitution has not given room for independent candidacy, where you don't need the party to, to form your group and contest and win election. You still have to go through the party, and the party holds the sole power to decide where and when and who becomes their candidate. You know, and so for that, I want to believe if he intends to now defect into a new party, the new policy that has been signed into law that is guiding the INEC right now will be a deterrence to him. We not allow him to do that.
Okay.
Because you must have become a candidate of Labour Party, and now to defect into a new party, you must stay there. You must have stayed in that party for 6 months and want to jeopardize her. Okay, and within that period of 6 months, the election will have been conducted.
So the window that was open for Peter Obi is no longer open now.
It's no longer open. So whoever we are yet to see crisis in the internal crisis in political parties. I think Nigeria will witness more in this coming election than we have never seen before, because the aftermath of what become the consensus or the primary in some parties will tell us the real politicians.
Do you think this new electoral act, especially for the primaries, is to the disadvantage of the opposition parties? Yes. It favors, some are just saying it favors the ruling party more.
It's going to favor the ruling party more. At the same time, it's going to kill more of that ruling party. Let me tell you that. By the time some of them felt that they are not comfortable with whoever that they are picking up. Yesterday, a rumor ran all through the media air that somebody has been picked as a consensus candidate for your state and some other states. And it has not gone, we've not seen the official statement. Until we see the official statement, we cannot pronounce that. We only felt that, well, if this is what it is being picked, then some people will not be happy with that announcement. Some people will feel that this is not what we bargained for. Okay. Some people will tell you that, why are we going to settle for this person? And because of the new electoral law, you can't leave your party. Then they will stay in and work against that party. And that is just it. And why they do that, they give more opportunity to the opposition, to the underdogs party. Somebody was, there was a particular member of the ruling party at the inauguration of the Tinubu support group. He said that, let's talk about the president. He pronounced it, let's talk about the president, and let's leave who become the local, the state governor to whoever that we decide to give to. But for now, he's asking members, he's asking the general public to embrace the president. He's only saying that his own particular focus is for the president only. So such a person got such announcement of the person that has been rumored to be the consensus party candidate, then you will understand that that person will only be sitting on the party system and be working against the party. And that will be giving opportunity to the oppositional party. And that's what we're going to experience. So if that is like a person who has stayed in that Labour Party for so long, work for the party development, growth, and the sustainability, got the news that the party has zoned to Southwest, then he has no option. He still has to stay there. Okay. And while he's staying there, he will be working against the party. That is just the truth. Except you want to see something else. That is where we have the Olaton kind of system. So that is just it. So I felt that the Labour Party announcement yesterday is going to be a big blow to so many members of the party who felt that it should be an opportunity to gain the support of the Northerners. I haven't seen what is going on in the present administration as a shift to the South in everything they are doing, talking about ministerial appointments, talking about political appointments, talking about support and so on that things. So they may be looking at the North that will be embracing the party, and they can be using it to cross the present alignment that is within the South and the North. But right now, I foresee more internal crisis in this coming election.
Okay, speaking about support now, don't you think there was maybe a consensus, with this, party members, especially supporters of this party from the north? Apart from that, we have other supporters of Labour Party in the northern part. Don't you think there was a consensus for Nandi to come out to say, okay, this is what we are doing? Because at the end of the day, I don't think Labour Party, they need any more crisis as a standout. And they just came out of court because recently the Abure faction took Nandi to court to say they have to overthrow her, but then fortunately for her, she won that case, and that's why she was able to make that announcement yesterday.
Yes. Well, there may be, but one thing that is sure, Germain, in political parties is that not everybody you see sitting down at a conference or a press conference giving out a particular announcement are happy with each other. They just have to succumb to what is on ground. And that we have witnessed in the last election, where we see some people working against their party openly. In order to curb that, in order to reduce that tension, in order to bring it down, that was why we have this electoral act being signed into law, that you don't go to anywhere, you stay where you belong. But the power that makes you to stay where you belong does not still restrain you from doing what you want to do with your own group. Outside the party, only the party will always be coming up with suspension. I haven't noticed maybe this person is doing this, they want to suspend. But yes, they may have, but the truth of the matter is, do we really need consensus? Can't we have an election where people will be able to vote out their mind, tell who they really wanted in leading them, in representing them, in standing for them as the party member, as the party candidates, and then they all will embrace.
So do you think zoning should be cancelled really?
Zoning should, not that zoning should be cancelled really, because if you don't zone at times, you don't have inclusion of members in all the country, as part and parcel of the government. Because if you don't zone, there are some people who will be doing some things behind the camera that will be favoring a particular area. They will tell you that we are not zoning, but this is the region that is more dominated with people that we can make use of. So you get it? Okay. Yes, we are not zoning. But by the fact that we are not zoning, we will not be able to gather people more into that particular government. We will not be able to have more people to work more in the governance. But zoning is that's why zoning is not constitutional. It's only tradition. It's only tradition. Like we have in your state now. Some people are already clamoring that Ibadan should leave the party, should leave the stage for that region of the state to take over. And until you have more population, more voice from that particular end, speaking up, coming out to really showcase that yes, in case of winning election, they can as well win. Then you can have your voice. But if that does not happen, the people that have been leading them, governing them for years, will continue to govern them. That does not apply to other states like Ogun State, who has already put up a cultural zoning formula. After 8 years for this zone, the next one will be for this zone.
But they are still complaining actually, because I recall there was a particular headline I read, the daughter of Obasanjo. She also made a claim that a particular region have been governor, for years. So it's time for Ogun West.
Even that's another case. We have two zones. The Ijebu, the Abeokuta. You can have the Ijebu South, the Ijebu Central, you can have the Ogun West, Ogun East, It's just like North and South. Anybody can come from the Southeast, everybody can come from the Southwest, everybody can come from the South-South. Everybody can come from the Northeast, Northwest, and North Central. The fact remains that they are coming from the North. But that's another problem. We're going to continue to have this problem. And that is the politics and political highlight for you. But the fact remains that, like you said, some people say, okay, it's time for Ogun West. Ever since they've been picking up this governorship, it has been dominated in a particular area. It has always been in the particular area. And that is why, if we look at Ibadan too, it has always been the Ibadan South. Is it that Ibadan South?
But we had Ogbomoso.
And then
Alawakala.
That was just once. And it has an opportunity to be Ogbomoso coming on board. Due to the situation that warranted it, at that time, it was opportune to come on board. But after that time, before that time, have you ever seen anybody from outside Ibadan becoming the governor? If not for Bola Ige, that was, during the 79, 83 era, it has not been. They declare it. And that is where we talk about allowing the culture of proper zoning, where people will be because that zoning will also develop the region. It develop the region. It allows them to feel the impact of governance, to be part and parcel of governance, to also make a decision that will favor them. To also, more of it is development. More of it is inclusion. More of it is opportunity to grow their region. Look at the Bola Ahmed Tinubu governors now. We can see more of Southwest people in his government. Look at the many key portfolios has been taken over by the South. And that is why we see it. People will, and that has been the case ever since the last the president Muhammadu Buhari. So it also develop, it also give more inclusion, it also give rise to development. So I did not want to, I wouldn't want to write off zoning, but I would like it to be properly done.
Okay, I think I get that. Apart from the zoning system now, many Nigerians have also argued that there's this mentality that a northern candidate cannot kick out a southern candidate. And they're saying maybe that's why Labour Party decided to zone to the south. Because they made the same claim. I remember when Jonathan contested for the second time, they said, no, let's zone it to the south. Because he has ruled for 4 years, let him rule again. It's not possible for Buhari to kick out a southern person. But Buhari kicked Jonathan out. Now they're saying the same thing now, that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is from the south. He's ruled for 4 years. Allow him rule for another 4 years. If at all you want to contest, do not fight someone from the south.
Yes.
Or
Fight someone
from the north. Fight someone from the south that can actually kick him out. Is that really valid?
It's not valid. Okay, we are waiting for who they will file out as their candidates from the south. That is the question. The question
as it stands now, do you think Labour Party has someone that can actually contest head to head?
That is it. The Labour Party is, if not, okay, the person I was feeling in my mind before now was Dati. I was feeling that, okay, Dati will be a good contestant, and because of his experience in the last election, his ability to have partnered very well with Obi, is the group, the movement may come back again and want to do something wonderful. But right now that has been zoned to the south, I've been looking in the party and also helping them to search who will be their candidate. The person that will be their candidate will determine if they can actually match up with the present government, with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that I know that I've already acquired more than that 30 governorship candidates to the party. And many people are still going to declare. Right now, in the history of Nigeria, we're having just one person or two that is known to be the most member of the most powerful, most populous party in Nigeria. So that tells you how powerful the man Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in terms of politics, in terms of political game, in terms of permutations, in terms of calculation, in terms of planning, in terms of leadership and breeding followers. So that tells you, I'm here to see a party that will match up. For Labour Party, they just zone to the south. They may not have a strong contestant to beat this man.
Okay, let's talk about who is going to be the flag bearer now, because Obi in 2023 had a soft primaries, because at the end of the day, yes, there was a primary conducted in Asaba, Delta State, but the other three candidates who wanted to contest against him stepped down. We had Patu Tommy, we had Emmanuel, I think Joseph Emmanuel, we have Olubusola. The three of them now, they stepped down for Obi. So do you think the same thing is going to happen now? Because when they asked Nandi that question to say, who are you looking at to become your flag bearer? Because at the end of the day, the way Patu Tommy, the way Joseph Faduri, and of course Olubusola Emmanuel stepped down the other time, people might not really want to step down for someone now. So don't you think it might be a little bit tougher compared to what Obi enjoyed in the last election?
Well, the government that is in power, its political ideology rules in its time. For Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who I know, has always been a person that loves consensus. He has always been choosing. In his government, in Lagos State, has always been a man that will choose. He will decide. He doesn't so much like that of primary, maybe somebody, another thing I've seen him done is the option A4, where he will allow people to go and queue behind that tells, go and queue behind your so-called aspirants. And at the end of the day, you know that you don't have people behind you when you look at the back, and that has already gathered some kind of enmity within the party. But I tell you, for this Labour Party right now, it's going to be consensus. They will just come up and tell us that, yes, they have found a party candidate and this is the person. They've all agreed. That time you're talking about when there was a primary. So it was because those people came up, haven't picked up the nomination form, and then stepped down willingly to say, I'm stepping down for this candidate. But it will not happen this time around.
Why?
It may not, because They don't really have that kind of members that will come out and it may not happen. That is, we are looking at the game. It's, in this politics in Nigeria, it's all about game.
Okay.
It's a game. Somebody said the Chelsea game, but I've played Chelsea before. I don't know if it is like that Chelsea, but I know it's more than chess. Because I know it's a game. It's a game where they look beyond the party. They see what they want to gain. It's a part of interest. They look at their interest. They see, we have seen a party who align with a sitting political party.
Okay.
Haven't been an opposition, but align with the party that is in power, and they want to claim they are different. It's not going to be like that in 2027. But I want to tell you that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done so much that even in all other parties that are sitting right now, all other political party, he has his informant there. He has his people there. And that is just the game. He has not, he's a very calculated person. While he was in Lagos, he still remained the only person who has been a governor and remain in his state and decide who becomes the successor after him. Till date, none of them, even in all other parties, all other states, none has been able. Maybe if Abiola Ajimobi would have been alive, he would have been the best person again to do all that. But after Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm yet to see anybody who have hold on to that ace to decide for his people. And that was what he took along himself to the presidency. Now they are having the rumor around of somebody coming out as the decision of the party. If it is not totally true, it is not actually incorrect.
Do you see Labour Party merging with any other political party? Because some Nigerians are saying, even after the whole announcement about Piazzoni to the south, they're saying Labour Party does not have that strength anymore compared to 2023.
That is where I also see Labour Party. I was saying in the party in my previous comments before that, a party can still hold their party and still align with other party. We've seen it before. That is what I see Labour Party going to do. I see Labour Party in that particular direction right now because they don't have what it takes. All their big fold have moved on to ADC. All their big guys who make the party what they are have moved on to other parties.
Okay.
So I'm still waiting to see who they will file out as their as of rep member in those states, as of federal, as of senate, and then the governor and even the president. That is key. That is where I see them holding on to the party name, but going to align with a particular party at a time. Mind you, the electoral act has given a shock and a limitation to members not to leave their party even when you are aggrieved with your party until after 6 months.
Okay, so which political party do you think Labour Party can merge with? In your best guess now?
My best guess, ADC.
Really?
They are going to, the man Aburi was opportune to start his leadership as a result of the present political party, the ruling political party, who some of us believe fund or bankroll his person. If you know Aburi before now, you know the man you decided that from Ibadan here to Abuja, and fortunately he becomes an house name. Until the Supreme Court judgment, you will have destroyed the entire party. But right now, the party is still hanging on. They are still existing. But I know that even when they could not file out anybody, they will align with a particular party. I see them align with ADC.
So that court judgment, of course, that says Nadi should remain the party chairman, don't you think it's a bigger problem than even this zoning? Because at the end of the day, this is what destroyed the People's Democratic Party. When it comes to the ego of some political members, not accepting what other persons, accepted. In
every political party, there is interest. Every one of them sitting down. That was what I said the other time. That even when you see a political party giving a press council release or whatever, sitting together, if they are 14, 6 among their 14 is not aligned with what they are saying. If they are 14, and if they are 20, not less than 9 of them are not agreeing with what they are saying. Go and check out very well. They just have to partner and just have to go there with them. They're not, because what they are saying, it is interest. Everybody is talking about interest. Just ordinary rumor yesterday that blew out into the air that the party has picked up a consensus, and this is, you need to be on this platform to know what is going on. Many of them has already been starting shouting and bouncing and threatening so many things. You can see fire everywhere. People are already talking. But the truth of the matter is that if it is not correct, it is not outrightly wrong. We are still going to wait to see the end of the day. A political party has named given April 8th as a date that their own their own flag bearer for the state will march. So after that, who is going to emerge for that party? Everybody is crossing their hands, and we know how many of them that are already flying their banners. Many of them, some people have even left their party to another party. But we're good. If we are all looking at Mr. B, and eventually it turned out to be Mr. F, and Mr. F is somebody that has not done really good thing, just like you see Fubara in Cross River, and he becomes the bride of the sitting governor who wants somebody to take over from him and then lead the people. Not only lead the people, lead the party. The party is also there. And at the end of the day, you think those ones who will be within the party will be happy with it. It's not going to work. And that is where you see internal crisis blowing up. Internal crisis generating to a point where some people will sit down, even crossing their hands, but working against the party. They are the informer to all other outside people in their party. They just cross their hands. No problem. When you ask them for opinion, they tell you no problem. When you ask, what do you think we can do?
But we saw some persons that even work against their party, and they were public about it. Wike went on national TV to say, I worked against PDP.
Yes, because Wike is another separate and special person. Wike did not just work with the party, against the party. Wike worked openly in collaboration with some people. Part of them is the governor of your state. That was the
G5 thing that has...
The G5, yes. And that was what I've always said on this platform, that the death of PDP was not caused by the president or the sitting president or the people, but the people who are benefited from PDP. They killed the party. Now, take for instance, if our governor, Seyi Makinde, has not worked against the party and all his senatorial aspirants won their ticket, his House of Rep member won the ticket, his State House of Rep member won the ticket, and eventually still, Bola Ahmed Tinubu still won. He will be having many people to support him. He will be the leader today. He will be determinant today. He will live larger and bigger than what he's living. His word will count more, But you see, Wike, that was, when Wike finished at the state, he even invited Bola Ahmed Tinubu to come and do some of his commissioning. You remember? That tells you the kind of politics they play in that place. Wike is not the first person that worked against his party. Rotimi Amechi worked against his party too, while he was the sitting governor of Rivers State. He works against Goodluck Jonathan. You remember?
I recall that the likes of Atiku walked out of Eagle Square.
They
before
walked
the
out of
2015
it.
election.
Yes, Rotimi Amechi was part of them. They walked out of Eagle Square. So they are the part of the people that have killed that singular mistake then, unable to resolve their grievances, their personal interest, because it's all about personal interest. None of them. Somebody was just been announced of what he owned after while he was alive. Many people were clamoring and shouting, how can somebody just for a 4-year sitting governor, this is what you can be able to acquire. If you have been there for 8 years, what will you get? And that tells you what people are going there for. It's their personal interest. Wike is not new to Rivers State. He's not the first man to be a betrayer. He's not. But I tell you, he
doesn't see himself as a betrayer.
He sees himself as
a statesman.
A statesman. He's a point. That is what we know how best to do in Nigeria.
Okay, so let's talk about election trends now, because I read some tweets in the last few days, especially when Nenandi made his announcement, and they are saying even if Labour Party decides to merge with ADC, they still does not have what it takes to kick out this current administration. And then I watched an interview a few days ago where Obasanjo, when he was contesting for the second term, he said, I have about 28 governors in my party, and you still think I'm going to lose. And then they are also making reference to the 31 governors we have in APC to say, if a party can have 31 governors, don't you think those 31 governors will look for a way to mobilize people for their president? So do you think that there's still a chance, if at all, Labour Party decides to merge with the ADC?
Labour Party will be standing there as a party to negotiate. It is very common in Nigerian politics that some parties are existing in order to negotiate with a winning party. In the past, we've had Boot Party. There's a party they call Boot Party. We've had NRP.
Okay.
We have Nigerian Republican, what do you call them, NRP. We've had some party that you had AAP. We have this party. You ask yourself, why are you having members when you know that you cannot win an election even in a ward? But they are there to just, at the end of the day, maybe after the presidential election, and they are not able to win anything there, maybe the House of Rep and Senate, you just see them coming on air, talking to people that they are now merging with a particular party, that is the party they saw that is already winning. They will just say that they are merging with that party and they are going to work with that party. That is where they go and negotiate. If we are working with you, what are we getting? They will be telling them, okay, you give you 3 commissioner, 2 commissioner, 3 SSA, 2 SA, 3. You know, that is what they are existing for. Labour Party does not have that number at all right now to kick out this present government.
Do you think obedient are still obedient?
Obedient are no more obedient to anybody thinking obedient are still obedient. That person, because obedient has been divided. The obedient movement has been divided. Some of them did not like why Obi is going to ADC. Some of them will have loved Obi staying.
But some have also followed him, according to what some party members are saying.
Yes. Some of them will have loved that Obi stay put in Labour and hold strong there. But you know, Obi understand that party is just the name. The person determines the party. Not until Labour Party welcome Obi in. Labour was nobody. Even in Oyo State, Alawa Akala was formerly a candidate for Labour Party alongside with Sarafadin Ali as the deputy governor. It was then that we understand what Labour Party is in Oyo State. We've seen that happening here. Until after that time, we did not see any other thing happening under Labour Party. So Labour Party is not is just a party. It is the people in that party that make up what the party is. In the obedient front, I think they've lost their members. They've not been. They're no more like the obedient that we know that can move that movement and make it what we expect and deliver and win an election.
All right, we need to conclude now. What is your best advice to the Labour Party? Because, I mean, they have just one governor, Alex Suti. But then, regardless, you know, it's still a political party and they can still do something. What is your best advice for that political party and as they prepare for the next elections?
Well, I want to advise Labour Party to go back to their individual state and build that state and make their member more relevant, more working fronts. And because they've lost candidates in many states, especially in the southwest here.
Yeah.
Of recent, some of their brilliant members, they come to the ruling party. And I want to say that the OT cannot do it alone. The OT is enjoying, is just been there because he has promised as in Abia State. And you know what he's facing. It's not easy. He's one of the people that they are expecting that he still join.
Even his second term, is a lot of talks.
Right. So I would advise Labour Party to work more on their internal crisis and build their party to see how it will work out in the next election.
Right, a big thanks to you, Afolabi Afolami. I believe that we'll talk about some of the things that we discussed today, especially, you know, some of the things that you've been able to, you know, note, speaking about the Labour Party and, of course, the next elections. Those who cannot draw lessons from history are condemned to repeat it. These are the words of George Satanaya. As we wrap up today's conversation, the Labour Party's decision to zone its 2027 presidential ticket to the South stands out not just as a procedural announcement, but as a historical marker. From its earlier years of open contestation to this era of deliberate regional balancing, the Labour Party's evolution reflects a party grappling with identity, political strategy, and national relevance. This policy may set the tone for new alliances, recalibrate voter expectations, and shape the contest long before the primaries begin. Whether it becomes a unifying framework or sparks internal discontent would depend largely on how the party manages its rise and membership surge, its internal cohesion, and its broader national message. A big thank you to Afolabi Afolami, public affairs analyst, for helping us navigate this unfolding political narrative. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakwa, and this has been The Big Story. Join us next time as we continue to examine the decisions today that could define Nigeria's tomorrow. We take a short break now, and when we come back, we take Trend Watch. Please stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. Now switch gears to what's trending across the country. Of interest is the Borno South Senatorial District Rep, that's Aline Dume, has spoken out. And this time around, not a fair one. Meanwhile, he said Nigerian soldiers withdrew from Borno towns over shortage of ammunition. In recent times, of course, he mentioned that they were recently forced to withdraw, from Ngoshi and Polka communities following sustained attacks by insurgents due to inadequate ammunition. The former Senate leader also said that he raised alarm over what he described as critical ammunition shortages among Nigerian troops, warning that soldiers are increasingly being overwhelmed by insurgents in parts of Borno State. That's exactly the conversation right there that is making the rounds in the country as we speak. And I was trying to check into how much of budgets we did for security in the country, the last administration, of course, even this administration as well. I was trying to look at how much of Naira, in terms of money, was invested into that particular sector for you to now say we lack ammunition. I'm so surprised to see that, but maybe not surprised, but I'm not so pleased with that situation to say Nigerian soldiers are retreating, not because they were overpowered by the numerical strength of these people, but because their ammunitions were not, were short, so they could not really dispense as much as they. So who would go to battle without having enough ammunition and would not withdraw? That's not even a good thing to think about. I was trying to look at the 2025 budget for the army particularly. The total defense budget was about roughly 3.1 trillion naira, and in 2026 that we are now, it's about 1.50 trillion naira. So that's a lot of money. So where is this money going to? Who are we supposed to ask the questions? Because really, you can't say we lack ammunition or we are short of ammunition because of whatever reasons you want to give is still not tenable. This is exactly where we find ourselves, but we need to ask the right questions. Who is responsible for allocating those money that has been allotted by the federal allocations to those communities or to those particular sectors in the country? That's where we are. Yemi?
Right. Aristotle said one thing. He said, any man who says he can stand alone is either a beast or a god. So it doesn't matter how intelligent you are as a person, not even talk about a country. You need the help of other people. And of course, I think we need all the help that we can get. And then the concern of some Nigerians is the fact that we are getting the help, but what are we doing with the help? I recall last year, the complaint was we don't have enough soldiers. And then the president directed that, okay, let's improve, let's get more persons into the army. And then we did that. And then now the complaint is we don't have enough ammunition. And we have the bandits who do not only depend on pump action or AK-47. You need to see their weapons.
Sophisticated
and then we are still battling with ammunition. It's really sad to think Nigeria, the giant of Africa that once helped other African countries to solve insecurity, is now grappling with the same insecurity. Why are we so incapacitated? I want to believe that we have what it takes, even without the help of any international nation, to solve insecurity. But then they will say, follower. So we have a lot of mole in the army and the police force. So it doesn't matter what they do. It's still not showing. It doesn't matter what, effort they put in place is not showing. I've watched several videos of some soldiers who say that, they can actually point to certain persons who are working against the army. So what is going on? I recall Sheikh Gumi, there was a time he said there's no time. Every single time he met with a bandit, the police officers, security men that were always following. So is it the government, they know the bandits by name, they know their locations. So what are we saying? If we are ready to solve insecurity, I believe we know what to do, and it's really sad.
I think the president should really question some people now, because I remember the last time we spoke when he was presenting the budget at the Senate House, he said something that is very important. He said the allocations reflect the renewed hope agenda and the practical needs for Nigerians, key sectoral provisions. He said defense is one of the things that will take spotlight on his own account. Of course, 5.4 trillion naira. And that's how much he said he's going to invest in that. And where is the money? That's the question. But of course, let's take a few of the comments we have on the social media platform to see what people are saying.
Yusuf Abdul Eid is saying Nigerian soldiers withdrew from Borno town because of what? Because of shortage of ammunition. Is this sensible to hear from their own nation? And Damchu is saying shortage of ammunition. How much is Coastal Road again? Lest I forget, the president have a yacht too. That's something to think about, to see that. Other nations, they see us as a very rich nation, but the Nigerians are the ones complaining about resources, and it's really something to think about, right?
And that's how much it would take, of course. For want of time, we have to say thank you very much for joining us on this very segment of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. My name is Anolo Akpoedo, and bye for now.
I'm Oluwayemi Adelakon. Please stay safe. Bye for now.